Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about net neutrality. Many of you may have heard about net neutrality, especially more recently since it has come under debate here in the US. But before I get into that, I'll define what net neutrality is. According to the definition on this is netneutrality.org, the website of Global Net Neutrality Coalition. Net neutrality is the principle according to which internet traffic shall be treated equally, without discrimination, restriction, or interference regardless of its sender, recipient, type, or content, so that internet users' freedoms of choice is not restricted by favoring or disfavoring the transmission of internet traffic associated with particular content, services, applications, or devices. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that everyone has the same access to any particular part of the internet, regardless of what ISP you have or service you are requesting. Now, net neutrality is not unique to the United States. With 40% of the world's population using the internet, there are plenty of other countries who are facing the same issues we are. To further grasp the concept of net neutrality, we must understand how the internet works. When it comes to the internet ecosystem, there are three major players. There's the backbone, which is represented by the ISPs and their hardware, the lines that they use, the technology, the routers, all these things make up the backbone. Then you have the edge providers, companies like Netflix and Google, who provide their own content to the internet. Then you have the end users, which are people who go on the internet to consume this content. And now more than ever, we have more users, more traffic on the internet. And it's because of this that ISPs, internet service providers, try to control the flow of data going through their networks. So that's why you have in the US two cases where the FCC's tried to step in to regulate the internet. But since the internet back in 2010 and 2014, it was classified as a Title I communication service. And under that classification, the FCC had no authority to prevent the ISPs in doing so. So in 2015, the FCC came out with the Open Internet Order, which reclassified the internet and broadband and mobile service as a Title II communication service, therefore granting them the authority to regulate ISPs, tell them what they can and can't do. Now, of course, you have two sides of net neutrality, those who are for and those who are against. Those who are for are mainly internet-based companies who rely on net neutrality for their current business models. If net neutrality regulations were to change, they would have to change their business model to adapt to the new environment. You also have internet and general rights organizations such as the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Save the Internet, and the ACLU, who all say that if left unregulated, ISPs may be able to block content for censorship or anti-competitive reasons. On the other side, people who are against net neutrality, they say that competitors shouldn't be able to use each other's networks for free. Others say that key players have acted neutrally without regulation from the FCC. So before the FCC got involved, pretty much the companies respected their consumers and did not throttle or do any practice that would be seen as anti-competitive. To strengthen their argument, ISPs say that their First Amendment rights are being violated because under the protection of the First Amendment, it protects those transmitting the speech of others in selecting which speech to transmit and how to transmit it. But a counter argument to this is that this analysis is inaccurate of the modern internet framework. The idea of net neutrality are its requirements only apply to the network transmission functionality and do not apply to the content or applications that are transmitted across the network. It is because of this principle that ISPs resemble other common carriers, such as telecommunications providers, who also fall under Title II, who do not receive any protection from the First Amendment. When it comes to net neutrality in a global perspective, the question is still the same. Does net neutrality favor internet users by preventing ISPs from discriminating, or does it inhibit ISPs from maximizing their ability to effectively provide content and further internet innovation? So, in the European Union, they have two legislative branches, similar to how the US has a Senate and a House of Representatives. One legislative branch, the European Parliament, approved an open internet policy similar to that of the FCC, which prevents no throttling or blocking for broadband and mobile, as well as prevent the charging of extra fees for enhanced access. The European Council, on the other hand, provided a competing proposal that is flexible towards ISPs, in which it would allow the ISPs to enter into agreements, quote unquote, with content providers to provide a faster level of content speed as long as it does not impair internet connections for the majority of users. In other parts of the world, specifically South America, you have Chile, who was the first country to impose net neutrality back in 2010. And Brazil was the second South American country to do so in 2014. Both countries' reasoning include the encouragement to further the development of mobile and broadband access. Mexico also adopted a policy in 2014, but commentators were hesitant to say how strong those policy and regulations were. In 2015, Canada issued a ruling that prevents ISPs from financially favoring their own services and apps. Although this measure isn't a complete net neutrality provision, it is seen as favoring net neutrality. But in developing countries, where internet access is hard to come across, net neutrality isn't at the forefront of people's minds. Companies like Facebook and Google have struck deals with ISPs in those areas, letting people have access to their content, but also charging more to venture outside the Facebook and Google websites. So these two companies may be practicing favorable techniques here in the States, but outside in developing countries, it is not the case. And now in the United States, the FCC is considering reclassifying the internet back to Title I. But whatever this future ruling holds, it is certain that the outcome will influence net neutrality throughout the globe. Thank you.